The night the Alpha King returned, the forest went silent. No wind moved through the trees. No insects made a sound. Even the wolves inside their human skin felt it. The pressure, heavy and suffocating, pressing against their bones. He had come to claim obedience. And someone was going to refuse. Across the clearing, beneath the pale light of the moon, she stood alone. Omega did not lower her head. She did not kneel. She did not bow. And that was the first mistake the pack believed she made. But they did not know the truth. They did not know what she carried inside her blood. They did not know that the weakest wolf in the hierarchy was about to challenge the strongest king in the region. And when she finally spoke, the sound of her voice would shake the very laws that had ruled them for centuries. The Crescent Moon Pack had lived under strict order for generations. At the top stood the Alpha King, ruler over all allied packs in the Northern Territories. His word was law. His command could not be questioned. Beneath him were the alphas of each pack, then betas, warriors, hunters, and at the very bottom, omegas. Omegas were seen as fragile. They were caretakers, cleaners, and healers. They had no vote in council meetings. They did not train for combat. They were taught submission from childhood. Omega was born into that role. She had been given that name not as a title, but as a reminder of her position. Her mother died the night she was born. The elders whispered that it was a sign of weakness. Her father never defended her. He barely looked at her. By the time she could walk, she understood one rule clearly: stay quiet and survive. But Omega was not weak. She observed. She listened. She remembered. By the age of 16, she knew every hidden path in the forest. She knew which herbs could heal wounds faster. She knew how to move without making a sound. And she knew something else. Something she never told anyone. On the night of her first shift, when every wolf transforms under the guidance of the Pack Alpha, something strange happened. Her wolf did not emerge fully. Instead of the expected silver or brown fur common to omegas, her wolf's eyes glowed deep violet before retreating back into her body. The elders called it a delayed awakening. But Omega felt the truth in her bones. Her wolf was not incomplete. It was waiting. Years passed. Then came the announcement that changed everything. The Alpha King, Declan, was returning from the Southern Wars. Declan was not only powerful. He was feared. He had unified 5 packs under his command before the age of 25. He was ruthless in battle and strict in rule. He believed discipline maintained order. Weakness was removed. Rebellion was crushed. The Crescent Moon Pack prepared for his arrival with tension hanging in the air. Kira, daughter of the Pack Beta, stood beside Omega as they arranged lanterns around the clearing. "You should not stand near the front tonight," Kira whispered. "If he senses defiance, he may punish you." Omega kept tying the rope steadily. "I am not defiant." Kira looked at her carefully. "You never bow properly." Omega did not respond, because she knew it was true. When Declan arrived, he did not come alone. Warriors followed behind him in perfect formation. His presence shifted the atmosphere. Even before he stepped into the clearing, wolves instinctively lowered their heads. He walked forward slowly, tall and controlled. Dark hair, sharp jawline, piercing gray eyes that missed nothing. He greeted the Pack Alpha formally. His voice was calm but firm. Then his gaze swept across the gathered wolves. And it stopped. On her. Omega felt it like a physical touch. The connection hit her chest suddenly, a sharp pull that stole her breath. "Mate." The word echoed inside her mind. Impossible. The Alpha King did not mate with omegas. Declan's expression hardened slightly. He felt it too. His wolf stirred with unusual intensity, pressing against his control. He walked toward her. The crowd parted instantly. "Raise your head," he commanded. Omega hesitated for 1 second. Then she lifted her face and met his eyes directly. Gasps rippled through the clearing. No, Omega held eye contact with the king. Declan studied her carefully. Her scent was soft but layered with something deeper. Something ancient. "What is your name?" he asked. "Omega," she answered calmly. A shadow crossed his face. "That is a rank. I asked for your name. It is the only one I was given." Silence stretched between them. Declan's wolf growled internally, not in anger, but in recognition. The mate bond tightened. He lowered his voice. "Kneel." The command carried alpha force. It was meant to push her down through sheer dominance. Around them, several wolves dropped instantly to their knees under the overflow of power. Omega felt it crash into her like a wave. Her body trembled. Her knees bent slightly. Then something inside her pushed back. A heat surged beneath her skin. Her pulse quickened, not in fear but resistance. He straightened. "I will respect the throne," she said quietly. "But I do not kneel to a man who does not know me." Shock froze the entire pack. Declan's eyes darkened. No one had spoken to him that way in years. Anthony, one of Declan's closest warriors, stepped forward angrily. "How dare you speak?" Declan raised his hand to silence him. His focus never left Omega. "You test boundaries you do not understand," he said evenly. "Then teach me," she replied. The tension was sharp enough to cut through air. For the first time in a long time, Declan felt challenged, not by strength but by spirit. The mate bond pulled stronger. He could claim her publicly. Force submission. Complete the bond through dominance. But something stopped him. If she was truly his mate, forcing her would break more than pride. It would break trust before it formed. "You will attend the council tomorrow," Declan declared finally. Murmurs erupted. Omegas were forbidden from council gatherings. Omega blinked once. "I am not permitted. You are when I command it." He turned and walked away without another word. That night the pack did not sleep easily. Rumors spread through every corner of the territory. Some believed Omega would be punished. Others believed she would be sent away. Kira visited her small cabin near the herb gardens. "You cannot go to the council," Kira whispered urgently. "They will question you. They will look for weakness." Omega stared into the small flame of her lantern. "They are already looking," she replied softly. "What are you not telling me?" Kira asked. Omega's eyes shifted toward the forest. "I have dreams," she said after a moment. "Of a wolf with violet eyes running beside a king. Not behind him." Kira's breath caught. "That is dangerous," she said quietly. "Yes," Omega agreed. "It is." Across the territory, Declan stood alone on the cliff overlooking the forest. Anthony approached carefully. "You felt it too." Declan did not deny it. "She is an Omega," Anthony continued. "The council will not accept this." Declan's jaw tightened. "The bond does not care about rank." "Then break it." Declan turned sharply. "That is not how mate bonds work." Anthony lowered his head slightly. "If she refuses submission publicly, it weakens you." Declan's gaze returned to the forest. "She did not refuse me," he said slowly. "She refused humiliation." There was a difference, and it unsettled him more than open rebellion would have. The following morning, the council chamber filled with tension. Elders, alphas, and betas sat in a circle carved from stone. Omega entered alone. Whispers followed her. Declan watched closely from his seat at the head. The eldest council member, Marcus, spoke first. "An Omega in this chamber is a violation of tradition." Declan's voice was calm. "Traditions evolve." Marcus frowned. "Not without reason." Declan's eyes moved to Omega. Then let us find one. Omega felt dozens of eyes judging her. Her heart beat steadily. She had survived worse than silence. Marcus leaned forward. Tell us, girl. Why did you resist the Alpha command? Because I felt something stronger. Because my wolf did not bow. Because I am not what you think I am. But she chose her words carefully. Respect should be given freely, she said. Not extracted through fear. A few council members shifted uncomfortably. Marcus' gaze sharpened. Are you suggesting our king rules through fear? Omega met his stare. I am suggesting strength does not need to prove itself. The chamber fell silent again. Declan felt a strange pull of pride and frustration at the same time. He was brave. Or reckless. Perhaps both. Marcus turned to Declan. This is precisely why rank exists. To prevent confusion. Before Declan could respond, a sudden sharp pain cut through Omega's chest. She gasped. Her vision blurred. Heat flooded her veins stronger than ever before. The violet glow flickered briefly in her eyes. Declan stood instantly. He saw it. Anthony saw it. Marcus saw it. And fear replaced judgment. Because violet eyes were not a mark of weakness. They were the mark of an ancient bloodline thought to be extinct. A royal bloodline. Omega collapsed to one knee not in submission, but because her body could not contain the power rising within her. Declan reached her first. When he touched her shoulder, the energy between them surged violently. The chamber walls trembled slightly. Gasps filled the room. Marcus whispered the word no one had spoken in over a century. Lunaris. And suddenly Omega's refusal to bow was no longer rebellion. It was destiny awakening. The council chamber did not breathe. Not a single elder moved as the word echoed through the stone walls. Lunaris. A bloodline whispered in forgotten records. A lineage said to carry the blessing of the moon itself. Not Alpha. Not Omega. Something older. Something balanced. Omega's body trembled as heat surged through her veins. Her skin burned. Her vision blurred with streaks of violet light. Declan tightened his grip on her shoulders. Stay with me, he ordered, though his voice had lost its usual control. Anthony stepped back slowly. He had seen power before. He had fought beside Declan in war. But this felt different. This felt ancient. Marcus rose from his seat, his age suddenly visible in the way he leaned on his staff. This cannot be, he muttered. The Lunaris bloodline ended 100 years ago when Queen Selene fell. Declan looked up sharply. Queen. Marcus nodded, his eyes fixed on Omega. The last Lunaris was mated to an Alpha King. Together they ruled without fear. Together they balanced power. When she died without an heir, the bloodline was believed lost. Omega's breathing steadied slowly. The violet glow in her eyes faded, but the heat remained beneath her skin. She lifted her head. I have never heard that name, she said quietly. Because it was erased, Marcus replied. Declan helped her to her feet. His mind raced. If she truly carried that bloodline, then the mate bond was not random. It was written deeper than pack law. Anthony spoke carefully. If the packs discover this, they will demand proof. Or they will demand her death. The word hung heavily in the chamber. Omega felt no fear at the threat. Instead, something inside her felt awake. Marcus nodded grimly. Some alphas will see this as a challenge to their authority. Declan's voice turned cold. Let them try. But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. Power shifted balance. Balance created resistance. Omega looked at him directly. You knew nothing about this? No, Declan answered honestly. But I felt something was different. The council debated for hours. Some demanded secrecy. Others insisted she be tested to confirm the bloodline. Marcus finally concluded the session with one decision. She will remain under the king's protection until the next full moon. If the mark of Lunaris appears fully, we will have our answer. The next full moon was 10 nights away. 10 nights for rumors to spread. 10 nights for enemies to move. Omega returned to her cabin before sunset. Kira was already waiting. They say the chamber shook, Kira whispered. They say your eyes changed. Omega sat slowly on the edge of her bed. It was not pain. It was release. Kira knelt in front of her. Tell me the truth. Are you afraid? Omega thought carefully. Yes, she admitted. But not of them. Then of what? Of becoming something I do not understand. Across the territory, word had already begun to travel. Not all packs respected Declan's rule willingly. Some followed because his strength left them no choice. Among them was Alpha Rowan of the Black Ridge Pack. Rowan was ambitious. He believed Declan's reign would weaken once a mate was involved. When his scout delivered news of a possible Lunaris awakening, Rowan saw opportunity. If this girl is real, Rowan said quietly, she could either secure Declan's throne forever, or destroy it. His beta frowned. What do you intend? Rowan's smile held no warmth. We confirm the truth ourselves. Back at Crescent Moon, Declan struggled with something unfamiliar. Doubt. Anthony found him in the training grounds long after dark. You have not rested, Anthony observed. Declan continued striking the wooden post before him. If this is true, everything changes. Anthony crossed his arms. You always said you did not want a mate to influence your rule. Declan stopped. That was before, he said quietly. And now? Declan's eyes shifted toward the forest. Now I wonder if the throne was never meant to stand alone. The mate bond between them had grown stronger since the awakening. He felt her emotions in brief flashes. Confusion. Strength. He did not feel fragile. She felt controlled. On the fourth night, the first sign appeared. Omega was gathering herbs near the river when 3 wolves stepped into her path. They wore the insignia of Black Ridge. The tallest among them bowed slightly, though mockery hid in his eyes. We request a private word. Omega remained still. You are not within your territory. News travels, the wolf replied smoothly. Our alpha is curious. Curiosity can be dangerous, she said. The wolf's expression hardened. So can secrets. Before Omega could respond, the air shifted. Declan's presence hit the clearing like a storm. The Black Ridge wolves lowered their heads instantly. You trespass, Declan said calmly, though his tone carried threat. We only wish to confirm a rumor, the tallest wolf answered carefully. Declan stepped beside Omega. His hand brushed hers briefly. The contact sent a controlled surge of power through both of them. Return to Rowan, Declan instructed. Tell him I will address the Council of Alphas personally after the full moon. The wolves left without argument. Omega looked at him. They will not wait quietly. No, Declan agreed. They will not. That night Omega dreamed again. She stood in a vast silver field beneath a full moon. A wolf with violet eyes walked toward her. Larger than any she had seen. Strong but calm. You are not beneath him, the wolf spoke without words. You are beside him. Omega woke before dawn, her heart steady. On the 7th night, tension reached its peak. Marcus arrived at Declan's quarters urgently. Scouts report movement near the northern border. Black Ridge warriors gather. Anthony's expression darkened. Rowan moves before proof is shown. Declan nodded once. He fears what he cannot control. Omega entered moments later. She had felt the unrest through the mate bond. They are coming, she said. Declan did not deny it. You should remain inside the main house, Anthony advised her. Omega shook her head. If this is about me, hiding proves weakness. Declan studied her carefully. You are not trained for battle. Her gaze held steady. You are not the only one who carries strength. Hours later, under a rising moon, Rowan and his warriors stood at the edge of Crescent Moon territory. Rowan stepped forward. We request audience. Declan met him in the clearing, Omega standing slightly behind but not hidden. Rowan's eyes locked onto her immediately. So the rumor breathes, he said quietly. You stand on thin ground, Declan warned. Rowan ignored the threat. If she is truly Lunaris, prove it now. Or admit deception. Marcus stepped forward slowly. The full moon decides. Rowan's jaw tightened. By then allegiance may shift. A low growl moved through both packs. Omega felt something rising within her again. Not pain. Not fear. Power. Rowan suddenly shifted into his wolf form without warning. Massive. Black fur. Teeth bared. Gasps echoed. It was a challenge. Declan's body tensed, ready to respond. But before he could move, Omega stepped forward. Stop, she said firmly. Her voice carried further than it should have. Rowan lunged. Time slowed. Omega felt the heat explode through her veins. Her eyes burned violet once more. Energy surged outward like a wave. Rowan's body froze mid-air. Not by physical force. By will. He crashed to the ground without striking her. Silence swallowed the clearing. Omega's hair lifted slightly in the charged air. Her presence felt larger, heavier. Strength does not require destruction, she said clearly. Rowan struggled to rise, but his wolf whined instead of growling. Declan stared at her in awe. She had not attacked. She had restrained. That was the difference between dominance and control. The violet glow faded slowly. Rowan shifted back into human form, shaken. This changes nothing, he forced out, though doubt filled his voice. It changes everything, Marcus whispered. Rowan retreated with his warriors before further humiliation could follow. The Crescent Moon wolves stared at Omega differently now. Not as Omega the lowest rank, but as something rising. Later that night, Declan stood with her beneath the moon. You could have injured him, he said quietly. Yes, she agreed. Why did you not? Omega looked at the sky. Because fear creates enemies. Restraint creates choice. Declan studied her profile. You do not seek my throne. No, she answered. I seek balance. The words settled deeply between them. The full moon was 3 nights away. And the world of wolves was already shifting. The night of the full moon arrived without warning. The sky was clear. The air was still. Every wolf in the Crescent Moon pack felt the weight of what was coming. Word had spread beyond their borders. By sunset, alphas from 3 neighboring packs stood at the edge of the clearing. Rowan of Black Ridge arrived last, his expression guarded but watchful. This was no longer about rumor. It was about proof. Torches lined the circular clearing where the ceremony would take place. The council formed a wide ring. Declan stood at the head, composed but alert. Anthony remained at his right side, hand resting near the blade at his waist. Omega stepped into the center alone. No escort. No crown. No sign of submission. Whispers circled like wind. Marcus raised his staff. Under the witness of the full moon, the truth of blood shall reveal itself. If the Lunaris line lives, it will answer the call. The moon rose higher. Silver light poured over the clearing. Omega closed her eyes. First, nothing happened. Some of the visiting alphas exchanged skeptical looks. Rowan crossed his arms. Perhaps this is all theater. Declan's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Omega focused inward. She felt the familiar heat beneath her skin. But tonight it did not surge wildly. It flowed steadily like a river finding its path. Her wolf stirred. Not restless. Awake. The wind shifted suddenly. The torches flickered outward, not inward. A low vibration hummed through the ground. Omega's eyes opened. They glowed violet, brighter than before, steady and clear. Gasps filled the clearing. But this time the glow did not fade. It intensified. A soft aura formed around her body, visible even in the moonlight. It was not aggressive. It was commanding without force. Marcus dropped to one knee instinctively. Not in fear. In recognition. One by one elders followed. Rowan tried to resist the instinct. His muscles trembled. His wolf pushed against him, urging submission not to power but to presence. Declan remained standing. But because something else happened. The mate bond flared between them like a bridge of light. Energy surged from Omega toward him, then from him back to her. Not dominance. Not control. Unity. Declan felt his strength multiply, but not in the way he was used to. It did not sharpen his aggression. It steadied his mind. Omega's voice carried across the clearing, calm and clear. I do not stand above you. And I will not stand beneath you. The aura expanded slightly, reaching the outer circle. I was born at the lowest rank. I was taught silence. I was taught to shrink. But strength is not decided by titles. The wolves listened without interruption. Rowan finally lowered one knee, though his pride resisted. Marcus spoke softly, his voice trembling. The Lunaris line has returned. Anthony exhaled slowly. What does this mean for the throne? Marcus looked between Omega and Declan. The Lunaris was never meant to replace the king. She was meant to balance him. Declan stepped forward until he stood beside Omega. He did not command. He did not force. He extended his hand. The clearing held its breath. Omega looked at his hand. This was the moment. If she accepted publicly, the mate bond would seal under the witness of all packs. Her life would no longer be her own alone. But neither would his. She placed her hand in his. The energy between them surged upward like a pillar of silver light. Several wolves gasped as the force rippled outward, not harming, only strengthening. Declan felt the shift instantly. The restless edge he had carried for years quieted. His power no longer felt solitary. Omega felt something else. Freedom. Not because she joined him, but because she was not erased in doing so. The moon reached its highest point. A mark appeared slowly on Omega's wrist, a crescent intertwined with a small star. It glowed faintly before settling into her skin. Marcus bowed his head fully. It is done. The visiting alphas had no argument left. Rowan rose slowly. His pride had been wounded days ago. Tonight it was reshaped. He approached cautiously. I misjudged you, he admitted to Omega, though the words came with effort. You feared loss of control, she answered calmly. That is common. Rowan gave a short nod. What happens now? Declan answered, but his tone had changed from command to clarity. Now we rebuild the council structure. Omegas will no longer be voiceless. Rank will not silence skill. Murmurs spread through the clearing. Some alphas looked uncertain. Omega stepped forward slightly. Change does not erase tradition. It refines it. She turned slowly, meeting the eyes of her own pack first. No wolf should be named after weakness. No child should grow believing they are less. Kira stood in the second row, tears in her eyes. Anthony watched the shift carefully. He had followed Declan through war without hesitation. Tonight he understood something deeper. Strength ruled territory. Balance secured legacy. In the days that followed, adjustments began. Omegas were invited to observe council sessions. Healers gained official status within decision-making circles. Training became optional rather than restricted by rank. Not every wolf accepted it easily. Change rarely settles without resistance. But Declan did not stand alone anymore. When opposition rose, Omega did not silence it through force. She listened. She questioned. She challenged respectfully. Her refusal to bow had never been about pride. It had been about dignity. One evening, weeks after the ceremony, Declan and Omega stood again on the cliff overlooking the forest. The territory felt different. Lighter. "You changed more in one moon cycle than I did in years," Declan said quietly. Omega shook her head. "We changed it." He looked at her carefully. "You could have taken more power." "I do not want power that isolates," she replied. He studied her profile in the fading light. "Do you regret not kneeling that first night?" Omega considered the question. "No," she answered. "If I had bowed out of fear, nothing would have awakened." Declan allowed himself a small smile. "And if I had forced you?" She looked at him directly. "You would have lost what you did not understand." Silence settled comfortably between them. Below, wolves trained together, ranks mixed. Kira now assisted Marcus in documenting new laws. Anthony organized joint patrols between packs, reducing tension at borders. Rowan had sent formal recognition of the new order. The forest no longer felt divided by invisible lines of superiority. It felt shared. Omega rested her hand lightly over the mark on her wrist. "I was named after the lowest rank," she said softly. "But that name forced me to grow stronger inside." Declan followed her gaze toward the horizon. Then perhaps the world needed an Omega who refused to bow. The moon began to rise again. Not as a symbol of hierarchy, but as witness to balance restored. And so the girl once expected to kneel stood beside a king, not beneath him, and rewrote the laws that had once tried to define her. True strength does not demand submission. It stands firm without crushing others. Titles and ranks can shape structure, but they do not decide worth. When someone refuses to bow to injustice even quietly, they create space for change. Balance is stronger than dominance. And dignity is never weakness.